In this video, we're going to be looking at wrappers. So continuing with the code that we had last time from the world manager with filters and wrappers.war file, we're going to look at a simple wrapper which requires a filter to work. So make sure that this project once again is loaded and your URLs are working as expected. Go ahead and just run it and make sure everything's up and running. The thing that we're looking at this time is creating a wrapper. So here I have created a wrapper called parameter inspector. The wrapper is simply going to intercept parameters, and what happens is if the parameter is a specific parameter, we're just going to change it to all capitalized. Now there's obviously different uses for using a wrapper other than this. You can inspect any parameter and make sure there aren't bad characters in it, for instance, or you could inspect parameters and consider if that would log in someone for some reason. You could go that route, or you could find other things that you would wrap the request for other than just parameters. But here we're just going to do a simple wrapper. We'll put a filter on the request, and then we'll use this wrapper on that request so that what we're going to actually do is extend the HTTP servlet request wrapper and build an advanced version of the wrapper. So because of that, we have the base code in place. Everything is in place. If you want to turn the system.out.println on so you can see how often this runs, you could certainly do that. Just uncomment that. You would need to have it running in Eclipse, the console, to see it working. But if you wanted to see that, you certainly could. It's interesting to see how many times this object gets constructed over and over again. But essentially, there are some methods in our HTTP servlet request that we're going to override. And so then if the user was to request all of the parameters, which comes back as a string array, we're just going to get the originals from the superclass, and then we'll return null if there's nothing there. Otherwise, we'll create a new array list of values. We'll go ahead and iterate all of those values, and if the intercepted param is our parameter, we'll go ahead and just change the values to uppercase, add those into the array list, and then we'll just return that as a string array. The one we're going to actually see in action in this video is going to be getParameter, which will be just pulling one single parameter, which will match intercepted parameter as the actual name, and then we'll actually set the value of that parameter to be all uppercase and just return it to the user. So nothing really spectacular here, just a simple look at a way that we can intercept the parameters coming across on the request and work with them using a wrapper. So that wrapper is in place, but it doesn't actually work until we apply it. Well, how do we apply it? We create a filter. Just like we did last time when we had the authorization, this time we need to have a parameter filter that goes in place. Now for this one, we're going to run it across every single request. It's not going to block people from going on, so we don't need to worry about creating an infinite loop. So we can actually have this parameter filter applied on all of our requests. So every time we hit a request, this will run. Everything's pretty much the same here. We have the doFilter method that we're working in. Everything else we're just leaving alone. The only difference is now we simply wrap the request with our request wrapper. So instead of just passing on the request in the chain, we actually use our parameter inspector as the request wrapper for the request. We still just pass the response on, and that's all we need to do to implement our parameter filter. So to see that in action, all I've done is created a simple page called parameter interceptor that requests the parameter intercepted param. So if that value is available, it will essentially print that out, and it should change it to capitalized letters. On our navigator, I actually created a link which passes that exact parameter in so that we have a very easy way to see it. So you can see that at the very bottom here, the parameter interceptor has intercepted param. It comes in as all small at start, and we'll of course print that out in capitalized letters because our wrapper will wrap the request and our filter will intercept the request, and this will work. So let's go ahead and run from index, and we'll simply call to parameter interceptor, and you can see that our parameter interceptor worked. It grabbed the parameter and changed it from all small at start to all small at start with being all capital.